A third of your life is a secret, even from yourself. That's the third of your life that you spend sleeping. And for most of us, we don't recall the lion's share of what we do during that part of our consciousness. Keeping a dream journal is an exercise that is very constructive in helping to partly remedy that situation, getting a little bit more of a view on what you do in that part of your life. It's an invaluable tool for someone who's trying to do lucid dreaming, but it's a valuable tool for anyone who wants to explore their consciousness. That's a big part of your consciousness that you can't just simply ignore. Keeping a dream journal is a very important thing to do. Even if you don't do it all your life or do it very regularly. I did it in earnest maybe 20 years ago through about 10 years ago. Then I kind of backed off. My work situation changed and the way I was doing it changed. But just doing it in that period of 10 years, very sporadically, maybe one or two a week, maybe not even any for a week or two. But they build up after time, and the main thing about it is it gets you in the habit of really, as soon as you wake up, you're in the habit where you start thinking about, what did I just do? What did I just recall? And the thing is not to get out of bed yet. Maybe roll on your back, but don't move around too much. Don't start thinking about your day or what time is it. And even if you have to get up and pee, then try to avoid that if you can. Or just hold it for a minute while you lay down and think about what you just did in your dream state. And a lot of times you only need to grab one little bit of that dream, one little piece. And from that piece you can start to pull the whole thing back in. So if you're in a hurry in the morning, then you're going to want to take notes or use a voice recorder. Many people just write it down, a few bullet points on a notepad. That's the simplest thing to do. A voice recorder is probably a better way, something I want to look into doing myself. Because then if you could find a voice recorder, ideally that you wouldn't have to look at in the light, that you could just by feel push the button, turn it on, and speak your recall, that would be ideal to me. I think a voice recorder would be a very good way to do it. But for me, I just hobble over to the other room and fire up the computer once I've laid down and recalled for a while. So I've got a late shift now, so I've got time in the morning. If I don't have time or I wake up late, then I just write down a few bullet points on a piece of paper. Grab a piece of scrap paper and I write down just the main scenes, the main characters, if there were any that stood out, even objects that stood out in the dream, any standout item. So I just make a list of bullet points, and then when I come home after work and I got a little more time, a little more leisure, I can look at those bullet points and the whole dream will come back to me, and I can start writing it into the computer. Now, whether you write it into a computer or whether you write it into a book, there's a lot of debate on that. For me, computer's the only way. I need to be able to edit it. I need to be able to pull it up. Heck, who even knows, maybe someday I'll write a story based on one of these dreams and I'll just pull directly out of the diary and start modifying that as a seed. So there's a wide ways of doing it, but I suggest not doing it real seriously. I picked it up again a few months ago in earnest. I've been writing 2 or 3 a week normally. Some weeks I get almost every day, some weeks I get almost none. So it varies, depends on your emotional state. But I've been already collecting in the last couple months I've been doing it. Already got maybe a couple dozen entries in there. And it seems like I pull out one, dream, and then I think about the dream before, and sometimes I'll get 3 dreams down, for one entry. At any rate, what's really nice about having the diary, well, there's 2 things. Once it gets you in that habit, and even if you stop doing it, like I did for maybe the last 10 years pretty much, I'm still in the habit of remembering my dreams. My recall is still excellent for my dreams, even though I stopped doing it, just because I trained myself by doing it for a period of time. Secondly, and the reason I started doing it again is it's really nice to have the record. And what's nice about it is to explore it and see things that are common. You start to put things together. Well, this dream is a lot like that dream, or the dreamscape in this dream is a lot like the dreamscape in that dream. Maybe they were actually the same dreamscape. Maybe I'm revisiting the same place. And I find that I revisit the same dreamscapes over and over and over again. That's why when I come to them, I know them very well. It helps you for your lucidity too, because you're in a dreamscape where you know where you are, you know all about it, you know where this hallway leads, you know that this door is probably unlocked. So all of that just helps you is a very good way for you to key in on the fact that you're dreaming and to become lucid. And like I said, even if you're not dreaming it, not pursuing lucid dreaming, then at least you can pursue these dreamscapes and see what's repetitive about them, see what they suggest to you. There's a lot more information about dream diaries on YouTube, so do a search. Rhys Jones shows you how he did it, and you can see this guy's kept a freaking tomb, you know. I mean, it's just amazing how much effort some people put into dream diaries. Stefan Berlin has an excellent thing about dream diaries. I strongly suggest checking out that YouTube as well. And I could never be as detailed as he is. He writes them, then he writes them again. You know, he voice records them, then he writes them, and then he picks through the ones he's written, and the special ones he rewrites again in a big book, you know, and I don't have that kind of time. For me, putting it in the computer is the only way. I can come back, I can edit. If I remember something different later in the day, I remember a part of the dream, oh, I didn't write that down. I can always go back, I can put it right back in, you know, seamlessly. I don't have to, you know, write another paragraph on a different page or some crazy thing if I was doing it physically. So for me, doing it on the computer is the only way. But each to his own, you know, whatever works for you. If just writing your bullet points down is enough for you and you just have a big long thing of bullet points, and that's fine too, I suppose. The problem with that is I think you'd forget it over time. You may not be able to pull that dream back just from the bullet points. Although often I can, even if they are dated. But I fear if they're dated, you're probably just going to lose it at some point. But try it out. Like I said, even if you don't do it your whole rest of your life, you know, if you only take it up for a year or two, it'll permanently improve your recall, vastly improve your recall on a permanent basis, just by doing this exercise for a while, just by forming that habit of waking and not doing anything but trying to recall